Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you very much, as always, for watching, listening, following, subscribing. I do appreciate you all. It is a brand new week. Last week was a really good week. Talking Buffalo made our way up back into the Apple Podcast top 200 in the United States on Friday. That was pretty cool. Wonder if it had anything to do at all throughout the week last week with my guest, my normal guest here on these Monday shows. He's going to take some of the credit, I'm sure, whether it's deserved or not.
Nah, you see, I'm a humble guy, unlike you. I don't take too much credit. I don't like giving credit. I don't like taking credit. You know, maybe it was because you had, Evan Almighty or Bruce Almighty, whatever that guy's name is,
I'm sure
on your podcast. I can't believe that dude was like number 4. Like, good for him. I'd love to hate on everyone. I'm a professional hater, but good for Jim Carrey or whatever his fucking name is.
Listen. And you're, by the way, talking about Bruce Nolan, and if on the audio side, by the way, if you're only listening to this, I'm talking about Joe from Queens, of course, my recurring guest here on Monday. Yeah, look, good for Bruce, man. I was very happy for him. He's been a good podcaster for a long time. That really sucked what happened with Vox Media. Those guys and girls are starting to find their way, whatever. But, Bruce really took his time and he told me, man, he said on the show, he didn't know how things were going to go. And it got borderline almost emotional talking about being number 4 in the United States. Not so much because, hey, I'm on the charts, look at me, because that's what I do. Every time I'm on the charts, I show everybody, I talk shit, I brag like crazy. Not because first of all, I've never been anywhere near number 4. But anyway,
you're running to your wife to get it on because you're so turned on by that. Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
sure. But in all seriousness, it wasn't about that he was ranked high like that. It was that the reception, that people missed him and that they valued him and that they wanted him back. Anyway, whatever. If you didn't listen to it last week or watch it, go back. I had an interview with Bruce Nolan. We talked some Buffalo Bills, but primarily it was about just, his process.
The content bros unite.
That was an actual interview, man. Like, we went into the weeds, talked about his podcast and what he was going through during the decision of what he was going to do next, stuff like that. I pat myself on the back there. That was a good, Bruce is a good get. And I thought that was a fun and informative interview.
Congratulations to Jim Carrey. Yes.
All right. So I want to let people know this too, because this is our Monday show. However, I got to say this. We're taping this very late on Friday night, actually. So we're taping this going into the weekend. So if by some chance something insane happens and we're not discussing it on this show today, that's why, because we're taping this on Friday. Joe is doing me a very nice solid. I got a good friend of mine, shout out Tony Greco. My man is in town from Texas, so I'm going to be spending the weekend with him. Joe from Queens and I usually tape Sunday evenings for a Monday show, but I'm going to be kind of occupied this weekend, so Joe agreed to do this with me.
Regret it already. All right, let's get to these topics because I'm tired. We need to go. No more.
So I shouldn't tell you that I literally, and I'm not exaggerating, just put away about 12 chicken wings about 15 minutes before we went on the air here. You're not really interested in hearing about any of that, are you?
No. I know we're gonna talk about chicken wings later in the podcast, so we can save that. We don't need to go to the finish right away. So let's go.
Nice little tease there.
I know.
A right? Should we even call him a rival? I don't know. A player for the Miami Dolphins really teed off on the city of Buffalo, not even the organization, but the city of Buffalo. We're going to get some thoughts on that later because some reaction has kind of got me like a little bit like, come on, man, really? But anyway, by the way, if you're watching on this video, so I got a little wrestling late Friday night recording action going on. I got my Jimmy Uso No Yeet hoodie on. And Joe, it's fitting for you, man. You got Joe for Samoa Joe WWE days.
Yep.
That's a cool shirt with your name, especially.
Yeah, I was out a little while ago meeting some friends, and they're like, "Yeah, we know your name's Joe. You don't have to wear it on your shirt." They don't really know wrestling.
Did you throw a couple back tonight? Be honest.
I had like one. I'm so tired. Like, the first year of being a dad, you're just fucking exhausted. So if you have like 2 beers, I'm not making it to this podcast. And,
fair enough. Let's dive in. All right. So again, later we're going to talk a little Buffalo talk, but for now, the primary focus of today's episode, I wanted to talk about I don't want to say players, some members of the Buffalo Bills that have like the most pressure on them this year to win. This is a team that's been good now for a number of years. This is a team that has been a Super Bowl favorite for a good handful of years now, and they haven't delivered. They have not even gotten to a Super Bowl, only been to one conference championship, kind of reloaded. Some people might think they're taking a step back. Well, maybe we'll discuss that a little bit. But anyway, there's a lot of pressure on this team, and certain specific players are members of this organization, and we'll talk about some of them. Kind of want to get your thoughts on what you think that level of pressure on them are. Let me start by asking you this. I don't know if you're going to say, we haven't talked about this, whether it's the head coach, Sean McDermott, whether it's the quarterback, Josh Allen, in your eyes right now, of those two, and they both have tremendous pressure on them, so make no mistake about that. But if I were to ask you, which of these two do you think has the most pressure right now to deliver in 2024? What do you think?
Oh, it's Sean McDermott, without question. I think, and I say that in, who is more important? Obviously, to me, it's Josh Allen. He's the quarterback. They're only going to go as far as they go. But I feel from a fan perspective, an organizational perspective, they all love Josh Allen. Like, he can do no wrong. Like, he has to have 2-3 bad seasons in a row. Like, I'm talking like epically bad meltdowns in a row for him to like get fan scrutiny more or anything like that. McDermott, on the other hand, there's people who are McDermottites who think he's the greatest and they don't want to be
McDermottites.
Yes.
Is that a thing? Did you coin
I call
that?
it. Yeah, I think I coined it once to you. They're like termites. They're into everything. Like if you make fun of Sean McDermott on Twitter, they come flying into your mentions and they're like, he's stability, he's good. And he got them out of the drought. Leave him alone. Like,
I like that. I have never heard
termites. Yes, they're like termites. They're into everything.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, so the McDermottites, like, yes, there's people who love him, but I think I think there are people he has a lot more detractors than say Josh Allen does, and I think. You look at like some of the philosophy he's had, like in terms of, I've talked about this before. I feel he is the guy who runs this organization. I know Brandon Beane's the GM. He pulls the tag, but I think his vision for the team, it's his for the most part. And I think he gets, my critical thought process of him is, he likes to invest a lot in defensive linemen. I've talked about it before, the 10-line defensive line rotation of doom that he wants to fucking implement, and so on and so forth. And you have like the playoff meltdowns, the game against 13 seconds, that's all on him for the most part, like how he ran that defense. And then you can look at the Chiefs game last year in the playoffs. Yeah, they were close, but he, in my opinion, was a little bit conservative because in terms of like letting Josh Allen cook, because he was scared his defense was going to get obliterated, which they ended up getting obliterated, in terms of that game. And then the year before, there's the Bengals game, which, Allen didn't play well in that game, but I feel like there's pressure on him to, even though he's not the main pressure point, if that makes sense. Like, he's not, like, it's mostly on Allen has to do well, because that's how far they're going to go. But I feel like there are, it's tough because I don't think the Bills are going to be like, they would fire him if they go 9-8 or something like that. But
no way.
No, yeah. But I think in terms of popularity, I think there's more people who are not thrilled with him than they are with Josh Allen. So it's close. Like, there's two different versions of pressure. It's like the popularity pressure in terms of, is this guy Marty Schottenheimer? That's out there. I've talked about him, way more than is Josh Allen, Matt Ryan, you know what I mean? Or Phillip Rivers, more of that. So
that's fair.
I go McDermott, but I can listen to both sides because the pressure could easily be on Allen because he is their best player and he has to carry the fucking team, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. I would say in terms of popularity, there's not you said it. Josh Allen there's nothing he's gonna do on that field that's gonna make him less popular among fans. That's a given. I think it's a given anyway. I do think there's a level of pressure on Josh Allen, though, where if he doesn't deliver, you're going to start to get that. You just mentioned a name. Phillip Rivers was a good to great quarterback who put up great numbers, but the team just didn't win. I'll get back to him in a second, though, because I do agree with you. I think there's more pressure on Sean McDermott. The only thing I will say, though, you can ramp up that pressure all you want, and probably he would say, no one's putting more pressure on me than myself, yada, yada, yada. He ain't getting fired. That's not happening. And short of this team going 4-13, which ain't going to happen, he's not getting fired. So when I say pressure, I mean, the people they're going to start coming for him a lot more. And it's not just going to be the McDermott. Oh, no, it's actually, hold on. The McDermottites are the defenders. So I can't say them. The haters, the national media, the local media, the fans who, they want to point their finger at somebody. There's going to be pressure ramped up, but it's not going to cost him his job. You said Marty Schottenheimer. I completely agree. Look, regular season, Sean McDermott is 73-41. That's a .640 win percentage. Playoffs, he's 5-6. Losing record in the playoffs. I don't think he's won a road game in the playoffs. That 2021 loss, I still, to this day, don't think we talk about that enough. That might be the worst coached fourth quarter end of a game in the history of the NFL. Ever. You got 2 timeouts. You kick the ball. You use 2 timeouts. You play guys. As much as we still harp on it, I actually don't think we talk about that enough. That might have been the worst coached end of a game in the history of the entire NFL. Not the Buffalo Bills, the NFL. That's how bad it was. Coaches and other organizations might have gotten fired for that alone. And that didn't happen. And you mentioned one more thing, too. You mentioned 2022, the Bengals game. Josh Allen sucked that game. Mm-hmm. So did a bunch of players. And you can use excuses that were legitimate injuries, even though since he had some key injuries as well. The DeMar Hamlin thing, the team was just out of gas. It's fair. But isn't it your head coach's job to get you through that, to get you to want to get up that morning and play your best football? They just looked like a team that was defeated at home in a game they were technically favored in. They looked defeated before the first snap of that football game.
And like that game, I know a lot of people say they ran out of gas, and I had heard from a few people that were close that said like McDermott even used that as they went through so much this year, and they did. I'm not going to lie about that. But then 2 weeks earlier, when you beat the Patriots and that Naheem Hines, like the game after, Hamlin got hurt, it was like, look at they're riding the emotions, and like this is why like they're pushing it. So it's like, 2 weeks earlier you were using that emotion to win, and all of a sudden you're completely out of gas as the excuse, which I think it works both ways. Like, you rode the emotion before and you ran out of gas, but I think at the end of the day, you just weren't the Bengals were a better team, and the Bengals at that time were good. I know they've had injuries and coaching or holdouts, but they were the better team those 2 years. Like they
dominated the Bills. They've played the last 3 times they played the Bills, or 2.5 times. They've looked way better than Buffalo.
They beat their asses last year, and it wasn't even that. I mean, the score was kind of close, but it wasn't that close when they beat them and the Bills lost to them. So either way, I think the pressure is on McDermott more so, because if they lose in the divisional round again, unless it's like a Josh Allen, like he just shits the bed like horribly, it's gonna be on McDermott, in terms of that, and that's why I feel probably between the two of them has more of the pressure.
In the playoffs, and this is why I would say Sean, in terms of we're talking pressure here, it should be turned up more on Sean, because Josh Allen sans that Cincinnati game in 2022, which I don't think I know we're not reporting anything, unique here, but there was some shit going on with Josh that whole week, and it's kind of sort of well known. We're not going to it's not our place to discuss it. But anyway, that game aside, he just did not play well that game, and it happens. There's lots of all-time players that have a bad playoff game. All right, so whatever. He had a bad game. But that aside, Josh Allen has played well enough for the Bills to win. Josh Allen wasn't perfect last year, but he certainly played well enough for the Bills to win. His teammates let him down. His defense let him down. Wide receivers let him down with drops. Sean McDermott let him down. That defense was picked apart, even though they were shorthanded. I hate being a hypocrite, but like the fake punt, because I was like, Sean's got some balls. I'll give him credit. Everyone cries about Sean being so conservative when it matters. Dude's trying to run a fake punt in his own 20-some yard line in the second half of a playoff game. It's kind of like, how could you call, rail on someone for being scared, coaching scared, and then rail on him because he tried a fake punt? It didn't work.
Yeah,
Sucked.
I mean, he has his moments where he is very extreme. He gambles.
But Damar Hamlin, though, that's the thing.
Damar, like, come on, dude. Like,
that really is a good call, but with Damar Hamlin, I would
also. I think there's a little bit of a personality, like, I don't know, like McDermott to me doesn't really, like, personality wise, he's kind of dull, and I think a typical fan would like love more bravado and like with that. Whereas Josh Allen, I think everyone thinks is funny, like he's kind of a goof, and I think that's a little bit of like, I don't know if that has anything to do with pressure, but if we're talking like popularity in terms of like it's going to be more pressure, like there's more of the love towards Allen there is towards McDermott, not just because of wins and losses and the quarterback's more popular, but like just kind of relatability, if you will, because McDermott's pretty dry, in terms of when he talks and etc. And
right,
trust the process, blah blah blah, and all that shit.
Do you think that maybe the pressure should be turned up more? In large part, and I'm sure you do, but kind of confirm this, is because Josh is kind of consistent. Josh has played great in the regular season, and Josh, for the most part, has played very good to great in the postseason. Sean McDermott, again, dude, he's 73-41 in the regular season. He has his team ready to play during the season each and every year. They've had double-digit wins now 5 straight years. His defenses, since he became head coach, they've only not been in the top 10 in defense once. The whole time, his whole run, that was in 2020. They were like around middle of the pack. So they've done exceptionally well. He's done an exceptionally well job coaching his team in the regular season. But then it just seems like the playoffs come and shit just seems to fall apart, man. And how much of that's on Sean? That's kind of like ramping the pressure up, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, Allen has been better in the playoffs than Sean McDermott's defense has. I don't think you can deny that. Like Sean McDermott's best playoff games as a defensive coach, whatever you want to call him, Frazier, whatever. It was when it was the 2020 against Lamar Jackson where they stopped him. They knocked him out of the game. They only scored 3 points to Ravens, and that was when Lamar was pretty. He's still a good quarterback, obviously, great, even. But other than that, like, what else are you gonna put on your resume? You're gonna put like last year against the Steelers when fucking whatever the backup quarterback, I forgot his name, the shitty one, is you're going against him, like congratulations, like put that on the wall of fame, that game, and then you have all those other games, like the Chiefs offense has like pounded you into the ground 3 times in the playoffs, and then the Bengals game, and even you go back to 2019 when they had a really good defense that year. It might have been the best defense they had under McDermott, because that defense carried the team that year. That was before Josh Allen got like really good. And, the Texans game, the defense fell apart in the fourth quarter when Watson just murdered them. And that was it.
Sure.
And so like, he hasn't had those types of performances from the defense outside of probably that Bills Ravens game where you're like, hey, that's impressive. Even though the game before that, if you remember, like the Colts, that's Phillip Rivers at 40 years old. And the Colts offense did really well in that game. Against the Bills. So, whatever. I think he's got to come up bigger in the playoffs, I feel, McDermott. But we say this, but like, who knows? Like, as we said, he didn't get fired. The quarterback ain't getting traded. But for me, there's a big spotlight on McDermott for next year.
Sure. And maybe, it does come back to pressure, because if you don't deliver, the voices are going to get louder. The critics are going to get louder. So in regards to that, it is pressure. Let's switch sides here for a second, because we both agree, and I agree with you. Sean McDermott, of the two, does have more pressure, and I think he deserves to have more pressure. But, and you said it in your opening speech here, it's not like Josh doesn't have any. You said it was pretty close. I tend to agree with that as well. If Josh Allen, if they get to the playoffs and they lose in a divisional round again, and Josh is good, but not good enough, and they lose, there's going to be some, nationally speaking, Josh Allen's overrated. He can't win. Because, this is a guy who's become a face of the league now. This would be, if he doesn't do it this year, 7 years without a Super Bowl appearance. And let's just say that somebody like, let's say Philly wins and it's Jalen Hurts, or San Francisco wins a Super Bowl this year with Brock Purdy or Jalen Hurts. These guys are winning Super Bowls, not just Mahomes, some like that. I think you're going to start to get some, again, pressure, criticism. I don't know exactly what we should call it, but that Phillip Rivers comparison, even though Josh Allen's way better than Phillip Rivers, but the comparison will gain more merit. Phillip Rivers didn't win shit, but he was a great quarterback, statistical quarterback. And that's kind of what Josh is doing, but on steroids, on a bigger level. Sure. But Josh Allen ain't getting past the second round of the playoffs right now. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him, even if it's not his fault, even if his receivers and his defense and his coach have been letting him down. He's got to find a way to put this team on his back. He's got to get to, at a minimum, he's got to get to a conference championship game this year. Or you're going to start to see some overrated talk from, the talking heads around the league.
Yeah, the talking heads will probably say that. They'll definitely go into, is he just another Phillip Rivers? And, if that could happen if he doesn't go far in the playoffs. But yeah, he's got pressure, but also he's their best player. If he goes down with an injury, the season's over. If Sean McDermott gets fired, it's not over the season. And that's where you can you can defy that. You can define that sort of pressure as well. He has to carry the team way more than fucking McDermott does. So
there's another type of pressure too. There's another type, look, his own pressure. Think of it this way: Josh Allen wants to be in that Pat Mahomes class, that Pat Mahomes level. You remember that 2021 playoff classic? It was like Mahomes is 1A, Josh Allen's 1B. We heard that so much that offseason, and I believe it. Believed anyway. But now Pat Mahomes has won another Super Bowl on top of that. He's got 3. There ain't no more of that. Is Pat Mahomes 1, then Josh Allen and Burrow, and let's start that discussion for 2 and 3, or maybe 4, something like that. If he wants to get on that Mahomes level and be considered one of the top 2 quarterbacks at this point, got to beat him in the playoffs. That's a lot of pressure to put on himself. It's warranted.
Sure.
Warranted. Definitely. It comes with being, one of the faces of the league and one of the best players.
Yeah, you got to do it. Look, people. I know, the Allen stands are gonna defend him until he dies, and they don't like when people pick on him or Nick Wright picks on him and etc. Whatever. I get that he's your boy. But that's what comes with the territory. Basketball, especially, that's an individual sport for the most part. People growing up, Patrick Ewing got shit. He was great. He's maybe the best center in the league for a decade until Shaq came, and he got shit because he couldn't win the big one, and he got to the finals once, and he kept losing to Jordan. And et cetera. That's part of the game. You know what I mean? I
never heard that comparison before. That kind of makes sense, actually. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
are you saying Josh Allen is Patrick Ewing right now?
Mahomes
might be.
I'll steal this from Aaron Quinn, because Aaron Quinn mentioned when the Bills lost to the Chiefs, how this was like the Knicks Bulls of the 90s.
You steal that from me.
All right, well, whatever. I stole it from him because then I guess you stole it from he stole it from you. I don't know. Yeah. I stole it from someone, so you guys can fucking fight it out. Gimmick infringement, whatever. Scorpion Deathlock over here. But
you're right. Oh yeah, the Knicks couldn't get past the Bulls. The Knicks never got over the Bulls. They
only got over them when Jordan left for the 1 year for baseball. But
is that Ewing's fault? Because Ewing's Josh Allen. Is that Pat Riley's fault, or whoever the fuck was the coach in the 90s of the Knicks? Because they couldn't get over the Chicago Bulls and the great Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
that's kind of
that's tough.
We're not playing a blame game.
Yeah, that's tough one. Who blames that? I think it was just Jordan was the better player. And like right now, look, I think Mahomes is a better player than Josh Allen is. That's not the shit on Josh Allen.
You can't arrive at any other conclusion.
Yeah, you just can't. Like, sorry.
Three Super Bowls. That's got to be. You can't arrive at any other conclusion.
Yeah,
2021, maybe you only had one at the time. You call him 1A, 1B. Sure. 3, no way.
Yeah,
no way.
He's, as I said, he's right now. He's Jordan and Josh Allen's Patrick Ewing. So
for sure. Well, all right. Well, again, those are the two guys right now that have the most pressure for very different reasons. Again, Josh is about legacy, I think, more than anything else. Sean McDermott is about, is he the right coach? Like, is it his fault? Can he get him over the hump? Or I don't think they will, no matter what, but should the Bills be trying to get a different coach to get this Josh Allen team over the hump? So they're pressure for different reasons. I agree with you. I would give the edge to Sean. I want to take a real quick break, come back. And I got a handful of players I want to run by you and kind of gauge what your level is. Like, we'll do like maybe a little 1 to 10 game, what you think their level of pressure is as well.
Sure.
All right, I am back with a very tired, but still he's a gamer out here, man. Joe from Queens. We are taping this late on a Friday night for a Monday episode, talking about pressure on the Buffalo Bills this year with certain players. We won't take a lot of time doing this, but I kind of want to run through. I got about 6 or 7 players or personnel, I should say, included as well. Let's start with Greg Rousseau. He's playing for, essentially, obviously he's your DE1 right now, but he's also playing for a big payday this year. So that's going to have a lot to do with it too. Pressure, let's say 1 to 10 with Greg Rousseau.
1 to 10. I would say 7.5. I would give it to him. Like, he needs, I mean, look, he has to have a big year, not just for contract reasons. Like, obviously, you want that, but they've changed a bit on the defensive line, and I think we're still waiting for, like, Rousseau's been solid. He's been good, but is he great? Is he gonna be better? Like, is he going to be great? And that's, I think, the big thing. Like, you're gonna pay this guy a lot of money. Like, he's gonna get money. He's gonna get paid. Like young defensive linemen don't grow on trees, and those guys always get paid. And he hasn't made the Pro Bowl yet. I know the Pro Bowl doesn't mean dick, but like he hasn't had those accolades. Like, even Ed Oliver was a Pro Bowler and things like that. So I think it's going to be a big thing. And look, they need some pass rushers, on this team. They had a good pass rush last year at times, even though there were games against really good quarterbacks that they weren't there. But like, is he going to be that guy is he going to be that stud who's going to get you 12 sacks a year or something along those lines? Or is he just kind of like, is he like Jerry Hughes a little bit? And there's nothing wrong with Jerry Hughes. I like Jerry Hughes, that's going to be in that 7-8 touch, sack realm. And he's fine. He's good. We'll extend him. Sure.
Fellow late first round pick too. Jerry Hughes.
Exactly. So
7.5 sounds good. I like that. Greg Rousseau to this point has been a very high floor player. He's been good. He's not hurting you, but does he have a high ceiling? I don't know. And I think this is the year where we will find out. So let's stick with another edge guy here. Von Miller. Von Miller may be playing not just for his Bills career. He might be playing to keep his NFL career going, if he even decides he wanted to play beyond this year. But, a lot of off-field shit. He was a complete and utter shell of himself last year, not even a sack. He's hungry to do something this year. So I'm sure he's putting a lot of pressure on himself. But what would you gauge that number at with Vaughn?
15. There's a lot of pressure on him. I mean, here's the thing. And like, you just kind of said it. I will also add this. He is not, I could be wrong in this. I'm not wrong. I'm right. He is not very popular amongst fans. Agreed. I think people were sick and tired of him like predicting like, oh, Odell Beckham's coming here. This guy's coming here. Anytime he predicts something,
it never happens.
It never happens. And I get it. Like, he's a podcaster. He was. I don't think he's done one in a while, but and I think after a while you're like, all right, dude, sure. the media locally, I don't think are fans of his. And I think maybe part of it is because he goes off and he talks about this shit and, he just makes these predictions and like they're kind of like enough, dude. And then again, he on the field, he's not very good. Then there's the assault case that
I was gonna say it's a pretty big deal too. That's I think a lot
like
of
that kind of like died
turn
like
on him for that.
Yeah, and it hasn't really been brought up. Like no one's done any sort of reporting to figure out like what happened. I don't even know what the hell's going on. Like no one. I don't think anyone's going to talk about it until like it maybe gets thrown out. I don't even know where it's at. Like no one's.
I think they dropped the charges because I think the girl just was going to testify. Or she changed her
tune, but I don't know if but it's like no one's talking about it anymore. They rather talk
I get what you're saying, but it's led to him not being popular. Like some people might have forgot about it or not talking about it, but it hasn't helped with his popularity. He might be one of the least popular superstars that I could ever remember playing for the Buffalo Bills. Like if they were able to cut him because of his contract, which they didn't, and he did to his credit take a pay cut, kind of bet on himself a little bit this year. But I think if he would have got cut, like say with that other exodus of Bills veterans, if Beane was able to do that, it would have been like, see you the fuck later. You don't let the door hit you in the ass. I don't think any fans would have been mad about Von Miller getting cut. I agree though. So you said a 15 out of 10 for Von.
Yeah, 15. He's under a lot, and they need him. Look, they need him. I'm not entirely. It's a defense that's in transition, especially the secondary, and one of the best helpers of a secondary is like you get a good pass rush. It's kind of an old trope, but whatever it is, it's true,
though. Yeah,
it's true. Like, and you need. I think they were missing that last year. Like, they don't have like, you and I are big stack guys, splash plays, and we like that shit. And like, they didn't really have that on the front four last year, even with their 85 defensive line rotation. And they need that. And that's what he was supposed to be. And he was on his way to being that. And then he got hurt and then he was bad last year and, probably shouldn't have been playing, whatever you want to say. And, now like it's on him, and it's not just for his career's sake, but it's also like, if they get somehow they get 90% of what Von Miller was in 2021 or whatever, like sign me up for that.
He was getting a sack a game. He was getting a sack a game before when he got hurt on Thanksgiving. Let's move on to the next guy here. Keon Colman, all right, rookie, unfairly or not, and it is unfair, but unfairly or not, he'll be the guy that the Bills got rid of Stephon Diggs for, to some extent at least. Sure. He was the first pick, and even if he's supposed to be more of a Gabe Davis replacement than, say, a Stephon Diggs, nationally for sure, to some extent, maybe locally, but fans, casual fans especially, like, oh, if this guy doesn't do anything, oh, you got rid of Stephon Diggs, this guy's got 8 catches in 11 games or whatever it may be. There's going to be some pressure. What number would you put on the rookie Keon Colman?
I'd put him at like 6.5. And the reason why I have him a little bit less than Rousseau is, yes, while they have he is possibly the replacement for Diggs in terms of like the view. Unlike Rousseau, I don't think there's another guy on the defensive line that can help. Like, he needs to be good, Rousseau, because there's not much on that defensive line pass rushing. Whereas on the Bills, wide receivers and tight ends, even though I hate them in a way, because they don't have like a fucking stud, they are going to spread the ball around. Yeah. So I feel like there's going to be a little less pressure because they're going to spread the ball around. He's a rookie also. And yeah, there will be a little bit of that. It could go up more, especially if like Worthy is awesome in Kansas City. Then we're gonna be like, oh shit, like why do we do this? And there'll be a lot of conjecture on the Bills X, because there's gonna be some people who are gonna be like, oh, he should be better than this, and other people are gonna be like, no, he's a rookie, leave him alone, fuck you, and all that shit. And it's I got him at 6.5, but it would be nice if he does really well. There is that pressure. I mean, actually, you know what? I'm doing 7. So 7.5 for Rousseau, 7 for him. But it's only lower because I feel they have other guys. They want to spread the ball.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
so it won't be as much. And he's a rookie, and I feel like that's. But I mean, there will be. I think there is going to be a lot of chatter on like the Bills X about him, because they are putting him like, oh, everyone loves him. Like the Bills are pumping him up, and the media loves him, and fucking like every Bills beat bro wants to like tweet out a video of him making a catch and fucking shaking his ass like awesome, crazy. Like they're promoting the crap out of him right now. Like
Let me say something though about
doing
that.
that. Sure.
I want to say something because I know how much you hate, and a lot of times you're right too. How much you hate looking at videos, highlights of people in OTAs and minicamp and shit, especially when they're in shorts. You're right, but I will say these recent videos I've seen of Keon Colman working out, he really looks the part right now. Like his speed, his size, the way he's catching the football, the route running. It looks like just in 2 or 3 months, he looks like almost like a different person. We'll save that kind of.
I'm not gonna go into that bullshit. Yeah, whatever.
He does look impressive. It's got nothing to do with pressure. I wanted to point it out. I've been impressed with what I've seen. I'm looking forward to training camp. I want to see how he looks. I want to see how he looks.
Okay, fine. Let me know when I'll care in August or September. Go ahead.
Next one. Connor McGovern. All right. Many think it was a mistake to cut Mitch Morse.
I'm one of them.
Probably you are one of them. Until an extent.
I thought Mitch Morse was good. And you had a great offensive line, and I get you had to cut him.
They got Connor McGovern now at center. So and they also drafted a guy, Ben Granger, in the 5th round. Who, if McGovern struggles a little bit early on, there might be, some rumblings about get the rookie in there. Anyway, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this Connor, but what would you throw him down at?
I'd put him at a 6. I think more or less because when it comes to offensive line, it's hard to really pinpoint who's at fault when something bad happens because it's such about scheme, unity, all that sort of stuff. I mean, and yeah, there could be a play where he gets blown up and like Josh Allen gets killed, and like we'll all be like, what the F here? It will be interesting to see how he plays, but it's, he's snapping the ball. That's a big deal. Like Josh Allen has not had many centers, since he's been here. I don't even know who the hell his center was. Oh, it was Eric. Oh no, Eric retired. I don't even know who his center was in 2018 before Mitch Morris got here. I forgot. It might have been Groot, whatever the hell that guy was.
I can't remember. Groot. I'm not off the top of my head.
Al Groh. Wasn't there a Groh guy or Groot? I don't know. There was some jabroni. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it's 6, but it could get bad pretty quickly in terms of like how it is. But he's on a line with other guys, so I feel like it's a little bit like the Coleman thing, where there's other guys that can kind of take the pressure off of him a little bit more and respectability. But look, it's a big deal. Like you're moving him to center, and like he played it in college and he didn't really do it in Dallas. I don't know. Maybe it will work. Little tiny, like maybe it will work out. I don't know. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking.
This is the first one where I kind of disagree with you a little bit. I probably would put it up a little bit higher. Sure. Last year with Mitch Morse, you had safety blankets. If something happened to Mitch Morse, you had Ryan Bates. Ryan Bates plays center. Connor McGovern was your 3rd choice. This year, if Connor McGovern's not working out at center right now, they got a rookie, a 5th rounder. Who knows if he's going to be ready? A lot of pressure to play that center spot, anchor in the line without having that safety net behind you. All right, one more player I actually wanted to hit on. Ed Oliver. All right, now assuming the Bills, he's been good, at times very good in the regular season. Assuming the Bills even make the playoffs, he's got to step up in the playoffs because straight up, Ed Oliver has been hot garbage in the playoffs the last 2 years. When I say he's done nothing, I mean he has done zero in these last 2 losses, this year to the Chiefs, the year before to the Bengals. Complete and utter zero.
You've always hated Ed Oliver.
I do not hate Ed Oliver.
You've always shitted on Ed Oliver. You are not a fan of it.
Because he's got to play better when it matters.
You're always angry.
That's the problem with the Buffalo Bills, dude, is these Kansas City Chiefs guy. Chris Jones is sleepwalking through parts of the regular season. He turns it up when he has to. Travis Kelce did nothing for the last 2 months of the regular season. And bam, playoffs come, snap that finger. Ed Oliver's the opposite. Ed gets off against the Minnesota Vikings in November. Where's Ed in January against the Bengals or the Chiefs? He's an important player. He's a high play player. He's a key to this team. Anyway, I kind of feel like I just told you what the pressure is, in my opinion. What do you put it at?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I would put him at 7. I keep saying like 7.5. I'd put him at 8. Like they need him to play. They need him to be good. Obviously,
am I wrong? No, I mean I might be,
I think
maybe a little hyperbole going on here, but am I really wrong about Ed Oliver? I don't think I am.
No,
he's done nothing in the playoffs.
He's done nothing in the playoffs. He's probably been the worst playoff performer they've had, to be honest. He is good in the regular season. I thought he had a really good season last year.
He was great in the regular season.
He was great, and he just kind of he just didn't do much. So yeah, there's pressure on him. Like they need like that defense. They want that defensive line to succeed. And like you're right. Like in the playoffs, like he needs to have a good play. If they get in the playoffs, he needs to be the man.
Yeah, let's use the Sabres as an example, Joe. Let's pretend, and you're gonna have to really pretend to get to this fucking level of imagination, but let's pretend the Sabres are a perennial playoff team, okay? And Alex Tuch is scoring 30 to 35 goals in the regular season. And every year the Sabres lose in the first round, or maybe they get to the second, and Alex Tuch don't ever score. Never puts the puck in the net during the playoffs. But he puts up in 35 during the regular season. Does it really matter what he does in the regular season if he's not scoring when it matters in the playoffs at the end of the day? Not really, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Ed. Oh, it pisses me off. All right, Brandon Beane. Let's go to Brandon Beane here. All right, many reasons.
Are we done with players, or are we going to Brandon Beane?
I got a bonus one actually, but
I got a couple. Do you want to go to Beane, or can I give you some of my players?
All right, go ahead. Give me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
First off, how do you not have Dawson Knox on the pressure list? Like this guy, he needs. What do you mean? He needs to perform.
Not even a starter.
Okay, great. So he's getting $6.5 million to make your wife to turn your wife on. Great, awesome. Like sorry, I don't mean to. I didn't. 2 years. He's Moran over here, but
his contract is going to have him here for 2 years. Yeah,
but there's pressure on him. You want him to do well.
They'll be fine without him, though. They'll be fine without him.
Okay, all right. Well, they'll be fine without Colman too. Maybe, I don't know, because your boy Shakir's going to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I think Dawson Knox is as big in terms of a player. Like he's under a lot of pressure this year. Like as far as I'm concerned, they're paying him like a top tier tight end, and he didn't do shit last year. And
he's terrible last year, but he was pretty good 2 years before.
He was okay. Yeah, I think they paid him because he's Josh Allen's boy at this point. But
if Von Miller or Greg Rousseau don't do shit this year, or Ed Oliver don't do shit, the Bills are in a lot of trouble. If Dawson Knox don't do shit this year, I think the Bills could still be fine. That's my only counterpoint.
That's fair. That's fair. But I wanted to rag him a little bit. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. I think there's a lot of pressure on James Cook. I think because he is right now, like as we've talked about, as we think, they want to balance this offensive. They want to balance this offense, and I think they're going to put a lot on him, and he's going to be their big running back. And yeah, they have a rookie there in Davis, who's going to come in hopefully here and there, but maybe he won't. I don't know. Like he's a rookie running back. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him because they want to make this a more balanced attack. So I think Cook is going to have a lot. Like he's going to have a lot in terms of touches. Like, started last year, he really didn't have much until Brady came in, and then he started really feeding them more. But yeah, those are the two players, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I think will have a lot of pressure because I do think if Cook struggles somehow and goes like this, let's just say that like hyperbole, the CJ Spiller route where he's a 1 year wonder and then he's effed up, then what are you going to do? Are you going to go? You're going to be a run and gun team with marginal wide receivers? I mean, hey, I'll sign up for that because I love throwing the football, but I don't think they want to.
Sure.
So I would put them. I would put
money on the line. Money on the line too for James Cook potentially. A big third year could really set him up to get a good second contract. As well. One more surprise, or not surprise, but player that I didn't mention that I think deserves to be on this list is Tyler Bass. Now he ain't going nowhere because of his contract. They can't cut him, but that was a big miss against the Chiefs last year. He looked tight in the playoffs. He's got a lot to prove right now. There'll be a lot of pressure on him if he struggles early on. Oh, you're gonna hear it in the stands. You know what I mean? When he lines up to kick the field goal, he misses a 41-yard field goal. You're gonna feel that energy, and if you're in the stadium, definitely some pressure on him. But let's go to Brandon Beane here. Many reasons, most notably, I think the Mitch Morse cut. The other ones I'm all good with, but the Mitch Morse cut, maybe the Stephon Diggs trade once it got it all the way to April 4th, a little surprising with the timing at that point. Plus, didn't get real aggressive this offseason. They're certainly trying to win a Super Bowl this year, but it feels like the assets that they allocated are more towards next year. Good cap space. That second round pick they got for Diggs for next year, they kept it. They didn't trade it to move up this year. So there's some pressure on Brandon Beane. Again, not you might lose your job territory pressure by any means, but he's going to be feeling pressure as he should.
Yeah, I mean, look, he did get rid of a lot of popular players. The Diggs thing, I don't really put that much on him for that. I think that's more of a Sean McDermott couldn't get along with him anymore, and I think that was, or vice versa. And I think that they kind of forced their hand a little bit there.
Sure.
I think Beane is very popular amongst Bills fans, because he's a quotable guy. The Bills media fucking loves him, and every time he makes a move, they'll put that stupid sunglasses photo up and go like, big baller Beane. So cool. In terms of like, I don't think there's that much pressure on him this year because I think he's already said it. It's a transition year. And if you're in a transition year and you're just like, hey, we're getting real guys and
that's fair.
Then I think you give a little bit of a pass, not super pass, but you're like, oh, he had to get rid of guys, especially if those guys, let's just say like Poyer is trash in Miami, we'll just say, or Mitch Morris struggles or Stephon Diggs hits a wall, then, you'll be like, oh, well, if this guy, he made the right moves. He got out of there as soon as he can, to do that. But yeah, I can see them in terms of like, if the wide receivers, I think the only way you can really blame Beane is if the wide receiver unit completely fails. And then that's when you can go, this is, it's been the biggest criticism I've had of him since he's been here, that they just have ignored the wide receiver position. They haven't drafted enough. It's been astounding to me for the most part. And I think that's where the pressure goes. If your wide receiving core struggles next year, then you're going to be like, well, this is what happens when you're not negligent for 1 year, like because you got rid of Diggs and you just gave Davis walk. This goes beyond that because you've never replenished it until it was too late, possibly.
Sure.
So
That's very fair too. That's very fair. I might add Connor McGovern to the mix of if it don't work out, that could be on Brandon Beane,
sure.
Because that center position is just real important. But yeah, and you're right. And look, if you have any expectations, there's going to be pressure. There's probably 20 teams in the NFL right now that have various levels of pressure. At the end of the day, I mean, we were just throwing around some other names to have discussions about these players, but it's about the pressure being ramped up most because you got the franchise stud quarterback who hasn't gotten to a Super Bowl, and you got the head coach where, if they fail again, you're going to start to question, and rightfully so, is he the right guy for this job? So that's why I think they definitely had this list. Let's, before we get out of here, I don't know if this is going to be fun. It might not, but I got to bring it up. Miami, new tight end, Jono Smith. By the way, I didn't even know he was with Miami. He's a pretty good tight end.
I mean, he was good. He was with the Chargers before. I remember like wanting him before he went to New England, like, because that was when the Bills didn't have any tight ends and Dawson Knox didn't do anything really. But yeah, he was good. He was good with the Chargers. Didn't do anything really with New England. All that.
Yeah, much, good player though. I'm potentially at least a good player anyway. Like, could be a little nice sneaky addition for Miami. But anyway, clearly, Jono Smith is attempting to do his part to keep the fire lit with the rivalry between Miami and Buffalo. He was on like a Miami fan-centric podcast. The hell was that shit called, man? I don't remember what it was called. It was something. I apologize. But anyway, it was just a fan podcast. But anyway, what he said on there certainly caught the attention of some outlets. I saw it on Sports Illustrated. Some fans sounded off. Let me read this quote, and then I'm going to get a reaction from Joe. He's already rolling the eyes before I even get to the quote.
I'm rolling because I'm tired. That's why I'm rolling it. But go ahead.
Jono Smith dissed the city of Buffalo. Let's just put it that way. And this is what he said, word for word. And I quote, "That's why the fans are hating, because they want to be in Miami. Have you ever went to Buffalo? Oh my gosh, man. Buffalo is, I don't know how the dudes do it. I don't know how they did it. Going from anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, and going into Buffalo, that's got to be the worst place you could be in the world. And the wings. The Buffalo wings aren't even good. They aren't even good. The wings aren't even good. I'm throwing all types of shots at Buffalo." All right, the wings part got me thinking he might be doing this for effect and on purpose.
Sure.
But overall, you hear that when he says going from anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, and going into Buffalo, that's got to be the worst place you could be in the world. What is your reaction? I laughed. I thought it was great. I think, fuck yeah. Let's ignite this rivalry. Let's talk some shit. That's what we're supposed to do. That's my reaction.
Look at you. You just wanted him to be a heel. He's getting heat right now,
yes.
that guy.
Cheap heat. That's awesome.
Cheap heat. You're right. I didn't care. I don't know how he can come up with that reasoning. Like, when has he come here? He comes, like, I've always remember hearing articles, or not articles. I remember maybe like Harrington talking about how, like, when hockey players come to Buffalo, like, they go on the road trip, like, you drive down to 33, you go right to the stadium, you stay at the hotel, and you play, and it's an ugly drive. Like, so you might be like, oh, this place sucks, and that's it. Like, because of the drive. I don't know if Smith has spent like a lot of time there, or whatever the case may be. It's hard for me to be like, how do you come to that assessment if you're just on the road for like 24 hours and then you leave? It's not like he's partying and going to Chippewa or Allentown or where the fuck the kids are going these days.
You're right.
Pouring a 40 for the pink or whatever. I don't know what he's doing. So I don't care. Look, here's the thing. I just don't give a shit. Ever since I was a kid, and even like in my 20s, anytime someone talks shit about Buffalo, I don't. It pisses off a certain selection of people. It also becomes content glory for a lot of the Bills bro beats and the Bills MZ people who treat it like they're covering us. Bills MZ, Bills MZ, or Bills Us Weekly. Like, they're trying to like rile up people, and that's been happening forever. Like, I remember years ago, like, what was it? Oh, there was like I remember Greg Williams had a quote where he was complaining that he wanted to take Drew Brees, and at the end of in Buffalo, and at the end of his story, he said, if I had picked Drew Brees, I'd still be in old cold Buffalo, or old cold Buffalo, and that was it. He just said it was cold. And I remember Channel 2 like did a story on it, and it was very mean about it, like how they were insulted, and then they had at the bottom like, you can, to voice your displeasure, you can email the Saints PR people. And then like I was like, what is this? I was like, who cares? Like, you guys are that angry about Cole, and you're a media outlet doing this. And then you have, like, I remember when the Tom Brady hotel shit happened and everyone lost their fucking mind. Like, and I say everyone, I'm talking like, I think there are outlets, content people who really like to tug to like play the heartstrings of insecure Bills fans, and they're like, oh, we got to cover this. Like, I guarantee you there are going to be some beat guys who cannot wait until Miami comes here, and they're going to go to Deion Dawkins and be like, this guy said this about Buffalo, and Deion's going to be like, how dare he say that? Like, Lenova's awesome, or Imperial Pizza's awesome, or whatever. Like, whoever your sponsor is this week. And it's going to be
what about Willis McGahee? Remember Willis McGahee? There ain't shit to do in Buffalo.
I'll say this about Willis. He had me, like, I never cared. I was like, he's a great football player, and I thought he had some valid points. Like, it wasn't a great nightlife city for him, and I got why. But then when he said he wanted the team to move to Toronto, that's when I was like, all right, we're done, buddy. Like, you need to get the hell out of here. Like, goodbye, buddy.
Yeah.
And, that was it. But I don't care. Like, let him talk shit, and as you said, he's just probably talking smack. I don't want to get insulted by it, and it's always been that way. And I don't know. I live in New York City, and people bash the city all the time. I was in Buffalo last week, and my brother-in-law was like, "Oh, how are the migrants doing over there? Are they robbing the stores?" And I'm like, "No, you idiot! I don't care." Like, I'm just like, I don't get insulted. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like, of course you're gonna think that. Like, and I'm just like, whatever. Like, people trash New York and think we're like it's shooting sprees every day, and it's not. And I don't care. Like, if people think that, and I feel like Buffalo people should feel that way too. And I feel the content people need to, like, I know it's a slow summer. I know you got to report on stupid stuff, but like, don't try to like get clout points by making fun of the tight end and tweeting out like, oh, I didn't know he was still in the league, and you're a freaking journalist or a media person. Like, come on, like, stop with the pandering bullshit. It's annoying.
Save the pandering for Patrick Moran.
Yeah, save the pandering. Like, I can even get like a fan, if a fan wants to be annoyed, like, sure, but like, if you're a media person and you're trying to really like stroke that and try to get fan the flames, it's the same people who like get upset about Nick Wright and you get upset about all these people. It's just like, it's just stupid. Like, there's bigger stories to chase that mean more to the fabric of covering the Bills and just getting that insecure fucking by some guy who cares. Like, who
Let
cares?
let me say this, and my public reaction was one of complete sarcasm. I said something along the lines of, "You can berate our tourism, our weather, how we look, our physical appearances, but leave the wings out, pal." That's what I said. Because look, for real though, anyone who calls wings buffalo wings, you lose all credibility to me. Literally right there. But
I think it's an outsider term. Like, I think people call that in it's not that's people call buffalo wings everywhere else except Buffalo.
Listen, what Smith said though, and here's the thing for real. I don't think it's unique. I think there is a perception from the outside that Buffalo is not really a desirable place to live. Sure. I know some people. Look, you live in New York City now. You have not lived there in a long time. You hear other people talk about Buffalo. I spent 5 years in Florida. A lot of people would ask me questions about Buffalo. I hadn't been there or only spent a little bit of time there. And it's kind of like the perception is you either go to Buffalo and you eat, or you go to a bar and you drink. That's about it. Like, there's not a lot of shit to do in Buffalo. That's the perception, at least anyway. The weather, I mean, what he's saying is not unique. I still think he said it purely for effect. And by the way, it's the Deep Dive Bar podcast. I want to make sure I don't want to be disrespectful to the outlet that he's.
What a nice guy you are.
Well, no, because if somebody did that on this show, I wouldn't want him to say, "Oh, fuck it."
You'd be trolling them and sending them dick pics. You'd be so angry at them for not crediting you.
I mean, there's not a ton more to say about this. But what I am saying is that I don't think it's unique. I think there is a perception from the outside about Buffalo. A lot of athletes have talked about, they didn't think much of Buffalo. They didn't want to come here, and then they come here and they fall in love with the city and yada 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 yada.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, there's a recruiting problem allegedly with the Sabres, and because they suck. Yeah, but you're right. But look, the projection outside of some people is like it's cold there, but there are people who genuinely do like the city, even if they haven't been there. I talk to people, not like all the time, but like people in New York City who are like, "Oh, Bills Mafia, go through tables." Like, there is like an envy of like how crazy fans are there, and I'm like, yeah, they're nuts. They embarrass me sometimes. No, I'm kidding, kind of. But yeah, like there's people that really do put over Buffalo. Like if you're outside in different areas, I am like in New York City, they do put you over. But then I think in that circle there are people who try to like, oh, it's us against them, like us against the world, and it's like, no, it's not that. It's not like that, for the most part. But I don't know. Who knows? Like that guy, like he comes here on once a year to drive from the airport to the freaking stadium to the hotel and stays there. And maybe it's been cold. And, I don't think the Patriots have won. I don't think the Patriots didn't win at all in Buffalo during that. Oh, no, they did win. They won that stupid windstorm game. So maybe it was miserable there. But overall, like people just need to like not care. Who cares? I'll say this though. I'm surprised there hasn't been, I could be wrong here, but we had that like 2-year stretch, and I'll get in trouble here. I don't care. Where like whenever someone like something nefarious, I use that in air quotes, happened towards Buffalo, we would like, there would be like this, like, let's donate to their favorite charity. Like, when the Saints lost, when New Orleans won that fake, I think it was the Saints won the fake tournament, or
might have been Tennessee,
one of those two, one of those things, like, oh, we're gonna donate to your charity to passively aggressively own you, and then like whatever, and like that hasn't happened in a while, where someone trashes like is mean, and then we're gonna be like, we're gonna be nice to you, we're gonna donate to this or that.
You're saying a John Smith fund drive's on its way here?
There hasn't been, and I'm surprised. I remember there was one with Bomani Jones, because Bomani Jones said fans in Buffalo were kind of racist, and then like I think it would have been Brother Bill tried to like, we're gonna donate to your charity, and Bomani was like, yeah, I don't care, that's great, but you're still kind of racist, and he was really angry at him, which I laughed at. I was like, you just showed yourself a little bit, like why you kind of did that, but whatever. There hasn't been that passive aggressive thing in a while, and I'm surprised no one wants to go and find out if he has like a Make-A-Wish foundation that he goes to in New England, and
it's only been like 24, 36 hours as we record this. Anyway, before we go, I'm going to give you an opportunity if you even want to. We'll call it. Do you have anything that you want to hit on? We'll call it a PSA.
No, I want to go to bed.
A petty service announcement from Joe from Queens.
Are
we good?
I'm good, dude. I'm so tired. It's 12:20.
We covered a lot, man. We talked about
I hate doing these Friday night
players and
things.
coaches. We got into John Smith criticizing the city.
I'm sick of the Heat. I'll say that the Heat sucks. I don't like Heat. Like I'm a big. Give me back the fall, like fall, spring, 70s. It's 95 where I'm at, and it's like I get swamp ass when I'm walking. It's not fun, dog. It's not fun. So stop. Like global warming's real. Let's start cooling. Let's start figuring shit out, America, and before we all sink to the bottom of the ocean. Or whatever. Right. So wait, one more thing. I'm gonna piss you off now. Joe Biden should resign. Should not be running for president right now. They need to find someone else before I'm gonna go through another 4 years of angrily tweeting about Donald Trump, which I do not want to do. So sorry to the 5 listeners who love Biden or whatever.
Let me tell you one thing, seriously, but as we get out here, because you say that, I don't want to get into no conversation about politics. Trust me. Maybe so, but not in an hour into an episode here when we're both
October, tired. We're going to bring it up. We're going to talk about it.
I did drop a tweet, a Joe Biden tweet on Thursday of last week, which is very rare for me. I stay away from that shit. At least on Twitter, I stay away from it. Facebook, different story. But I put out a tweet. If you're ever out there and you feel like you got too many followers on Twitter X and you want to lose a good 20 to 30 of them, tweet about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Don't matter. Pick one. Tweet something good about that guy or tweet something bad about the other, and you are guaranteed to lose 20 to 30 followers.
I want to do one day, and you'll say no because you suck. We need to do a poll on Bill's X and go, do you want Pat and Joe to talk about politics on Talking Buffalo? And I'm just curious to see what the results are. That's all. I'm just curious. Like, is it going to be like 4% or 0? Like,
what would you project it be? What would you project? What do you think the amount of people, if I put out a poll, what would be the amount of fans that would approve of Pat and Joe from Queens talking?
We'd have to have it to where it's like a 5-10 minute like small talk. Like we come on and it's like a small talk. It can't be
at the beginning though.
Yeah, it would have to be. I would say 15%. I would say would want to hear it. 15. Right, like no one wants to hear it. But I would love to rant about it. But we'll see what happens. Maybe if I get Pat drunk enough in October and he's not worried about Bill over at the Armory downtown, some veterans bar, are going to unfollow him and not do it. Or maybe his teachers will disown him. How dare you besmirch the great Donald Trump or Brandon Biden or whatever the hell his nickname is. See, I'm playing both ways right now, so everyone's going to hate me after this.
I was going to say, man, we definitely need to leave that there. But make sure you follow Joe on Twitter at Buffalo
Don't follow
Wins.
me. No, I don't want you to follow me. Don't follow me.
I'll be back with a new episode.
Follow me on MySpace if you guys want.
There's no chance I'm going to say something here at the end where Joe doesn't cut it off. So
no. Yeah, you're going to have Matt Perino on, I think you were about to say. So there you go. That's coming up soon, guys. Subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.